Hey, I'm Teja Gerken with Peghead Nation, and you just heard San Francisco Bay Area flat-picking virtuoso Jim Nunally playing on this new Martin Standard Series D-18. This is part of the new Standard Series that Martin introduced at the NAMM show this past January. And if you saw my recent demo of the D-28 version of the Standard Series, you might remember some of these updates and tweaks that the line has received. This D-18 is taking advantage of a similar approach to bringing some of these vintage features and more historically accurate design elements to the Standard Series. So let's take a closer look. So of course a Martin D-18 is a very well-defined guitar. It's a dreadnought with a spruce top, mahogany back and sides, and usually ebony fingerboard and bridge, X bracing. But within those parameters, of course, a lot of changes have happened since the guitar was introduced in the 1930s. Early versions of this guitar would have had an Adirondack spruce top. At some point in the late 40s, the bracing switched from scallop bracing to straight bracing. Over the years, these approaches have gone back and forth, and of course, more recently, say in the last decade or two, Martin has offered a lot of variations of the D-18 in the Vintage series, the Golden Era series, and some special editions. This Standard Series refresh kind of brings a lot of these elements that were used in the more vintage reissue or Golden Era type guitars to the Standard Series. And I think the results are really quite spectacular in that you get that tonality that you used to have to pay quite a bit more for to get a Vintage Series guitar or a special edition, and you get it in these Standard Series guitars. So in the case of this D-18, we have a beautiful Sitka spruce top, really lovely mahogany back and sides, ebony fingerboard and bridge, typical D-18 appointments, of course, simple fingerboard dots, typical black and white rosette, typical black and white purfling. I did notice that the binding on this guitar is black binding rather than the tortoiseshell type binding that was used for 18 style guitars for a while. In terms of the updates to the model that make it the refreshed package, the most significant, certainly tonally, is the fact that the guitars now have Golden Era top bracing, and that means that it's scalloped, forward-shifted bracing, and that gives you a much more refined response, perhaps a little bit more volume, and just a bigger dynamic range typically than you would get with straight bracing. And again, that is a feature that comes directly from the more sort of vintage reissue type models that Martin has offered and is offering now in the Standard Series. There are a lot of smaller tweaks to the design. For example, it's got a different nut fit on here. It's a bone nut and saddle, I should mention. Kind of a more vintage accurate, slightly angled fit of the nut here. Open back Grover tuners. Martin sort of took a look at the heel shape of certain vintage Martins, and they've tweaked the shape of the heel to be more like that. The same is true for the bridge, which the footprint or the shape has changed slightly over the years, as have many other things about their guitar designs. And they sort of took a step back and say, hey, can we do this in a more vintage accurate way? And that's what we have with this new bridge shape. I should say the new old bridge shape, but it's part of the refreshed package on these guitars. Ebony bridge pins. I think other Standard Series guitars had used plastic pins, so that's a bit of an upgrade right there. And a slightly thinner fingerboard with kind of beveled comfort edges, and I have to say it is a very comfortable feel. The neck shape is what Martin calls a Golden Era modified low oval, and it's I'd call it a contemporary feeling neck, though there is a slight hint of a V almost in here, and it's a width of 1 3/4 inches at the nut, so slightly wider than some Standard Series D-18s would have been, but sort of in the dimensions that Martin has been using on most of its dreadnoughts more recently. So you heard what the guitar sounds like, played with a pick with a little bit more force when Jim was playing it. And we were sitting here earlier kind of playing this guitar as well as the D-28 that we already demoed. And we both agreed that this guitar just offers, you play it and you immediately think that's a D-18, and you sort of get what you would hope for from a great mahogany dreadnought. And particularly being priced as it is for a standard series Martin, it's a very, very impressive guitar. And D-18s, of course, are great flat picking guitars. A lot of players actually prefer them for playing single note and sort of lead guitar type lines to the rosewood guitars, a little bit more clarity, a little bit more brightness. And I also find that these mahogany dreadnoughts tend to be a little bit more suited to playing fingerstyle than rosewood dreadnoughts are, because of sort of the brightness, maybe a little quicker response on that. So let me just play it a little bit like that, because also the scallop bracing on this really helps bring out sort of the dynamic range to where you get a little bit more tonal complexity when you're playing it softer. So, very fun to play that way, and the slightly wider neck also accommodates playing fingerstyle. So overall, it's got the sort of versatility that D-18s have always been known for, and I think adding this vintage style scallop forward shifted bracing on this guitar really kind of extends the tonal range and the type of playing that you might use the guitar for in a very positive way. So that is the new Martin D-18 Standard Series with the new refresh package. And I should add that this refresh package and these tweaks to the design are being applied to the entire Standard Series, not just dreadnoughts, also their OMs, triple O's, the entire line. And I think it's a very worthy package of upgrades that really results in an enhanced tonality, I think, really lovely sounding instruments. And I hope to have a chance to check out some more and share what they're like with you in the near future. For now, let's go out and listen to Jim play the guitar a bit more with a flat pick. My name is Teja Gerken. If you are seeing this on YouTube, I'd encourage you to come over, and we'd love to welcome you at PegheadNation.com for our many courses and lessons, not just for guitar, but many other stringed and fretted instruments. So PegheadNation.com, we'd love to see you there. Here's Jim Nunally giving the guitar a bit more of a flat picking workout.